Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, this is the Ramble and I'm in red, Alex, and we're here till midnight tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Chuck Farnham. Chuck Farnham, how do we I always described you as our stunt man.
Yeah, that's kind of how I explain it occasionally when people ask.
Yeah. So that you used to go out and do weird kind of stuff for us, right?
Weird things without reason or anything else.
Right.
It seems.
Right. So, give an example of just a few of the wonderful things you used to do on our program. This is, by the way, intellectual entertainment that we were involving ourselves in.
People were driving to work, and we started with the cover myself with mustard and went down to Pacific Stock Exchange.
No, but you came to me as something else.
No, I came to you as a guy who was selling human remains on tour with Lollapalooza.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's how that was.
Yeah.
And then producer, I came in. Well, we did an interview over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said, hey, on Monday, why don't you come into the station? And I said, I think I've shot my load here. I got nothing to say. And she goes, no. We want to try this. So I'm like, okay. So I come in and you and I bullshit about human remains and jewelry.
Yeah.
Because at that time it was illegal. Yeah. And everything was good. Bye. Hey, nice meeting you, blah, blah, blah. A friend of mine, Rick Bretschneider, huge fan of yours.
Mm-hmm.
Years before, he had invited me to come down and watch the show, and I fell asleep and almost got thrown out. You were like, you can't sleep. So anyways, years later, here I am.
Was I that boring?
What?
Was I that boring?
I don't know. It was early in the morning, and I didn't understand much. And, so anyway, so as that moved on, that was like on a Monday.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, I get this phone call from the producer again going, can you come in on Thursday? And I go, come in for what? Let's see, we did the jewelry thing and we did the jewelry thing. She goes, no, I just want you to sit there. We think there's something between you and Alex. And we want to explore it. And I'm like, I don't know what that could be. I have no idea.
Was that my producer who said that?
Huh? Yeah, it was Stephanie.
Stephanie, yeah.
And I came in, and that was it. It was like, I think after that, it was about a week later. They said, hey, will you come in again? And I'm like, well, I can't. I got to go on I'm going on vacation. And they said, where are you going? And I said, I'm going to go to the O.J. Simpson trial. and
this is what this guy, by the way, does for kicks.
Yeah, I got nothing better.
Goes to the O.J. trial. Did you go to the O.J.? Did you go to the O.J.
So
trial?
I go to the O.J. trial, and unbeknownst to me, or no, it was Nixon's funeral. It was Nixon's funeral before the O.J. trial. Oh, yeah. I was down to Nixon's funeral where I didn't have credentials, and we just hung out. And so while I'm down there, and they said, well, you guys said, will you call us while you're at Nixon's funeral? And I said, sure. Well, within about 2 seconds, I bullshitted my way into.
Now this is before cell phones are popular, right?
Yeah, we had that big boxy thing.
Yeah,
and so while that was going on, unbeknownst to me, the station manager Manali had the head of intercom. He was picking him up at the airport, and they were listening to the show, and the guy goes, How long have you had a reporter like this on staff? And Malcolm goes, he's not on staff, he's on vacation. It's just this guy that, when he goes, when we're through, you're hiring that guy. And he goes, and I don't care. He goes, because somebody's going to hire that guy to do this stupid stuff.
It couldn't have been the head of the company, however, because that guy was awfully square. I don't think he'd even get what we were doing. You know, it might have been his son, who is now the head of that company. David.
All I knew was when I came back from vacation, I had a job that was hanging out with you in the morning.
I didn't.
They said, "What do you?"
What can I ask you what they paid you?
It was like $50 or $100 a day.
Really?
And you know, it's radio, so you're getting all these perks and promotions and stuff. And
yeah, but it was like per day.
I wasn't getting any of
per
that.
day that you were doing something, right?
Yeah, it was $50 a day. So it was, and I was there every day.
So but sometimes
like the day. Well, in the case of the day we had Jackie Chan there, I was there to provide security for Jackie, even though he traveled with a ninja. But
did he travel with a ninja?
Oh yeah, he had a guy in slippers and black everything, and it was like, wow, this guy's cool. Well, he was our hero. He still is, I think.
Oh yeah,
Chan's. Yeah. So, you know, I got paid, and it was regular, and everything was good, and we were having fun. Occasionally, like I think Chevy's or Chili's gave me just an obscene amount of money to be a human burrito in their restaurant one afternoon.
Yeah,
and it was like $500,000, something like that.
Well,
and
they didn't pay you $500,000.
500 or 1,000.
500
for me to be a burrito, not $500,000.
Yeah,
you froze there a little bit. So it was kind of funny because years later, my dad was sick, and we were talking about the stuff with you,
mm-hmm.
and I was asking him how he felt because he's a very conservative guy, and he'd heard the video. I sent him the audio and stuff of the burrito thing, and he goes, "How much do they pay you to be a burrito?" And I told him, and he goes, "When you were a kid, I didn't make that much money in a month." And I'm like, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "So you to become a human burrito for $500?" He goes, "Dude, I'd undercut you and done it for $250." And this was a guy who was
now let's explain the human burrito to people.
Yeah, this was a guy who was very, very conservative. I could not see this guy's a burrito. No, they put me on a table, and then they just start scooping, Mexican condiments on me, and beans and rice and cheese and meat of choice.
Mm-hmm.
And then people get in line and eat off me.
Yeah, they would literally take like corn chips.
They would eat off me, and none of us thought it would work. Nobody thought, "Hey, this."
Religions have been created on less.
Yeah, and there they were.
Partake of the flesh of Chuck.
Yeah, we're like, okay, so now we know this stupid thing works. So if we ever fall out of something, we always, the old good standby is,
be the human burrito. Yeah. And then you had to keep thinking up stuff.
Right. It wasn't, it was like, okay, so it was National Mustard Day, and that's how the food thing really started, was National Mustard Day.
Condiments were very big with you.
Yeah, I was trying to get anybody in the station to become, I thought I was going to be producing these bits, and I couldn't get anybody to become cover themselves in mustard. So I thought, okay, I guess it's me. And I didn't bother asking anybody after that. I just started covering myself with food.
Yeah. That was obscene.
And it still works. That guy covered in food, always funny.
Yeah. What was your favorite, though? Did you have a favorite?
Of everything we did, we went down in front of a 24-hour Nautilus, not far from the station, and I covered myself in powdered sugar and taunted the guys who were all on the treadmills facing the street. And they were getting really unhappy. I mean, I'm sweating, there's powdered sugar.
I seem to remember you doing that for my TV show.
We might have done it then too.
Yeah, where you went around to people who were on treadmills and working out and offering them donuts.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
And the guy said from 24 Hour Nautilus, he said, "This is one of the best promotions for this place I've ever had. A fat guy eating donuts and people trying to exercise." And they actually offered me the shower to clean off afterwards, because normally we were at some car wash hosing me down.
Yeah, they used to take you to car washes to hose you down.
Which, by the way, is not the brightest thing to do either. The best part of that 24 Hour Nautilus thing, and I think I've said it here before probably, is that this big Cadillac pulls up. The lady gets out. She's huge. She's a huge woman, and she gets out and she's crying. And the intern who was with me is like, "What do I do?" And I go, "I don't know. You're supposed to be security. I'm just a fat guy covered in sugar." And he goes, "Okay, I'll talk to her." And he comes back and he goes, "She wants to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay." She comes over. She's crying, and she goes, "I need to thank you." And I go, "For what? You want a donut? I mean, what can I do for you?" You know, like, I mean, you may as well too. And she goes, "No, every morning I listen to you guys in the morning, and you're obviously not a small guy, and you obviously don't care what people think about you not being a small guy. And
you didn't have any any body dysmorphia."
Right.
You know, you
right,
did not. You were not. You had absolutely no guilt about your weight.
I still don't. I don't care.
Yeah, you've continued to let yourself go to crap.
Well, I'm eating better now, but I still weigh like 325. So, anyway, this woman goes, every morning when I park my car and I walk to work, I know people are making fun of me from behind, you know, as I walk by.
Yeah.
And she goes, and it used to bother me, and I had to go to doctors and, you know, psychiatrists. And she goes, "Whatever since I started listening to you guys on the radio," she goes, "I don't care what they think anymore, Chuck. I don't care what's fun. It doesn't matter to me." And she goes, "It really mattered to me for a very, very long time. I went through a lot of therapy." And she goes, "Because of you, I don't do that anymore." And I go, "Would you like a hug?" Or no, she goes, "Can you hug me?" And I go, "I'm covered in powdered sugar and jelly." And she goes, "I don't care." And she hugs me, and she's off in her car. And the intern who was there, he looks over at me and goes, "Seriously, you're helping people? This is helping people."
You know, that's interesting, you know, because when we did these things, we weren't thinking about any subtext to it of helping anybody by doing it, okay? The only way we were helping people is maybe people were listening and they were laughing, okay? That was our therapy, all right? But to think that there was some woman,
we thought the therapy was.
when we find that there was some woman who was affected by this, who it made her feel better,
yeah,
that almost makes everything that went before worth it, you know?
Right. That happened.
I mean, that's a great story. I never knew that story. You never told me that story.
Yeah, I don't know where she went. I don't know where she is now. But,
yeah.
You know, we had a profound effect on her, and she had a heck of a one on me.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. That's a great story. You know. Meanwhile, we went on to do other stupid stuff, you know.
Yeah, pretty much anything we could possibly imagine. We were down there at the on Mondays. We'd be down at the drunk tank waiting for people to get out and interviewing them on our famous segment, "Why Are You Here?"
Yeah. And
they would tell us.
Yeah.
You would get it out of them. They'd say, "You know, I beat somebody up last night, or I was drunk, or, you know, et cetera, et cetera."
And
those were all good. I mean, I think the Terrence Hallinan liked those.
The only thing that I did in all of this is sit there in the studio and you know, and be the straight guy.
We spent a ton of time together outside the studio, and you never knew what was coming.
No, I never wanted to know.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, I always told my staff, if you're going to do something, surprise me, okay? Yeah. Because I don't want to be in on it, because then I'm going to think about.
We didn't know.
Well, when I don't know what's happening, then I'm reacting like the audience is,
Right.
And it was very important to me to not be in on any of this or any of these things. I know
Right.
Chuck today is on the Golden Gate Bridge. I don't know. I can't remember why we sent you out to the Golden Gate Bridge. Maybe to jump off. I don't know.
It was the Friday before. It was the Friday before Easter,
Mm-hmm.
and I was baby New Year or Jesus 3 days early. I think was the
Baby Jesus 3 days early.
yeah. I was Jesus. I had a cross, and
Boy, is that bad taste.
and we went out there, and the funnier part of that was, and that bit worked really well. And then I said, hey, if nobody's doing anything, Easter Sunday's coming up, and I obviously should rise from the dead on Easter Sunday. And so while you're doing the show, I'm sitting there, and every few minutes I go, Easter Sunday, Golden Gate Bridge, be there, be there, be there. And you're like, you're not going to go out on the bridge on Easter. We're not even on the radio. And I go, people are expecting something, so we should give it to them. Well, Lisa Carr was throwing a party at her house.
Lisa Carr was our traffic woman before Bubs.
Right, and she was overnights, I think, as well. And so I'm going to go to this party. Right?
By the way, it was a traffic woman named, and it's her real name.
I know, and I didn't know. I thought her name was Lisa Carr.
Did she take Lisa Carr because it's Lisa Carr?
Yeah, that's not her name.
No.
I was like, your name's not Lisa Carr? But anyway, so I go out there with my guys, Yedney and I think John Kahn, maybe one of this, Sharp Margell, one of the guys. They'd built a cross for me. And so I go out and I do my thing on the bridge, and sure enough, here comes psychiatry, because that's what happens when you're semi-naked on the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm wearing a diaper and carrying a cross, and
they're yelling, and they're coming over.
They want to make sure you're not going to jump. The first thing you do on the Golden Gate Bridge is you get naked before you throw yourself off. We didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
No, it's a problem.
Really?
Yeah, everybody folds their clothes up right there and then jumps.
Why? They don't want to get their clothes wet? What? I mean, that makes no sense.
I have no idea. All I know is the psychiatrist has met me there many times because of you and me. And he comes out and goes, how you doing, Chuck? And I go, well, it's Easter Sunday. I'm kind of celebrating here, and having a good time. And traffic is backing up a bit, but you're coming into the Sunday, Easter, San Francisco. There are people coming in. I wasn't necessarily responsible. A big problem, I didn't think, but a big enough problem.
Yeah.
So we finish this, and I go to Clark's house for this Easter event. She's got a bunch of people there. And I'm sitting and she comes in, and I come in, and she goes, maybe you should shower or something. And I shower, I'm sitting on the couch, and this guy comes storming in the door. Goddamn son of a bitch, God, blah, blah, blah. Some idiots out on the bridge had a cross and it stopped traffic, and I'm late now to your party, Lisa, because of this, and blah, 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 blah. The guy is just freaking out. And Lisa goes, Rich, guy with a cross? Oh yeah, he's sitting on the couch in there. The guy comes in, and there I was in my diaper with my cross.
Wow.
And it was you? I'm like, yeah. Why? And I go, well, I was giving people what I told them I was going to give them on Friday.
I think the answer to that question should be, why not?
Yeah, it's like, I learned this a long, long time ago. Don't think too much about it.
Right.
Just do it.
Right.
So much easier to say you're sorry, or I wasn't thinking about that. I made some T-shirts one time for the company that sold the human bone jewelry, and I called it Cannibal Wear, because everybody's dying to look cool. And then it had this like Eastern Indian guy on it, and people would come up to me and scream that Africans aren't cannibals. I go, I know, he's Eastern Indian. Those are the cannibals.
Yeah.
And
well, there are also cannibals in the Amazon.
yeah, you can't.
They're
It's like
not.
you can't complain to people, when they're
Yeah, the whole idea that cannibals were necessarily black was a racist instinct.
we're arguing about eating people. It's
Yeah.
like, no, eating people is probably bad. We can move on. It's a joke, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a joke.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's life in a nutshell. You just do it, and most of them worked. And we had stuff that was incredibly stupid, where I can remember, I don't know, it was me and several people. We're in a meeting. You're there. We're trying to decide on guests. There's a list of guests, and they're going by you because you had to approve the guests, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they would have me in there because they weren't sure which way you were going to go. And they knew that maybe I had an opinion and maybe you'd listen to it or maybe you wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be there as this thing. So I'm sitting there and they get to Shaft, Isaac Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason you said no. I don't need Isaac here. And I'm like, okay, but I'm like, Isaac Hayes, man, that might be fun. And several other people in the room really wanted Isaac Hayes, unbeknownst to me. And I said, well, what's he going to do? What's he bringing in? And they said, unreleased Shaft recordings. He's got them on DAT tape, unreleased Shaft recordings. And you peeked up at that point, and I went, we get unreleased Shaft recordings? This would be awesome. So Isaac shows up. He's way early.
Is it on a version where they actually say motherfucker?
Yeah, he had everything. It was awesome. Like, Isaac Hayes is here. So he's way early. He shows up like, I don't know, he's going to be on an 8. He shows up at 7. And I'm entertaining Isaac Hayes, which was, a real treat.
Mm-hmm.
And then our receptionist, I can't think of her name, was late.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, Isaac, want to answer the phone? And he's like, what? And I go, you want to be the receptionist? And he goes, sure, Chuck, I'll do it. So he's sitting in the desk there, and I go in and tell the producer, I go, Isaac is the new receptionist. And she's like, what? You talked to Isaac Hayes? And I go, he seems into it. So he's answering the phone. He goes to put a phone call through to you. And you're like, Andrea, that was her name, the receptionist. You go, you're not Andrea. And he goes, no, I'm Isaac. And you're like, you're on in the 8 o'clock hour, aren't you? And he goes, yeah, but Andrea didn't come in. And so Chuck's here and we're just hanging out. And he asked if I would answer the phone for him so he doesn't have to. And I got no problem. I'm just hanging out with Chuck. So Isaac is now answering calls. Like for the next hour, people are calling the station now just to talk to Isaac. Just to see if it really was Isaac. It was perfect. And
did
boom, I don't know.
Did we put a microphone out there with him eventually?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had a whole thing going on. Yeah. It was awesome. Because when we went from Isaac's probably not going to be on the show to Isaac's on the show for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
It was great.
Oh, it was terrific. That's terrific. I don't even remember that. There's so much that went on that show that I just don't remember.
Yeah, no, there are things
and it's not because I'm old. It's just you do these things every day. And what I always did was after I did a show, I put it in my I gotta do something here, because all of a sudden, see, I freeze. See that? I'm frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens. It's been happening. Yeah. So I have to go to another camera. Okay. So I go to another camera and it's frozen. Oh, it's frozen now too.
It's frozen now too.
This is wonderful. Okay, let me go back to my other camera. There we go.
Does that freeze on the screen too? And does that freeze on the recording as well?
Yeah. For some reason, the camera's been freezing up lately, and I don't know why. I really wish it had to do with rebooting, but I've done that, and it still freezes. So who knows? Who knows? When it does, it's solvable. So that's all I care about. Hey, listen, we've run. Oh, we'll talk about that next time. Okay, that's Chuck Farnham, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk to you again, right? Stay where you are, and we'll do another one of these.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Chuck Farnham. Okay, bye.
Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Okay, let me see here. There we go. I pushed the button. I pushed it and that didn't go, but now it went. So I'm okay now. Hello, everybody. Another week of fun and games, or phoning games, or actually, that isn't even phones anymore that we use. It's just the way it is. Anyway, hello, everybody. How are you? I hope you had a nice couple of days off. And we probably should go to people are waiting, and they're just, oh, wait a minute. I just said admit all. Wait a minute. What are we doing? Admit all. There we go. Wait a minute. Waiting rooms. There we go. Admit all. Okay. There is, let me see here. Let's see if we got them all here. We got Charlie, and we got Jeff. Hello, Charlie. Hello, Jeff.
Hey.
Jeff still can't figure it out. Well, while we're waiting for Jeff to figure it out, just connect your audio, Jeff. That's all you have to do. Just turn on your audio. There you go. You just did it. Yeah, okay, fine. We should make you a list of what to do and what not to do. No, really, Marjorie always said that's the best way to do things. You make a list, and what order that you're going to do these things in, and so on.
Works for me.
Works for me, too. What does it say on your shirt tonight?
It says, be greater than average.
Very good. I like that one. I would buy those shirts, except I don't know what they say. So maybe I will start buying them, and then you can just interpret them for me, so I know what they say. Undoubtedly, I'll probably pick out something that says like I'm a big asshole or something like that.
Nice.
But I like your shirts. Your shirts are just the best. Oh, look
It's a hobby.
who's here tonight. Look who's joining us out of nowhere. Yeah, Phil Meyer. Is this your night off of Photoshop or photo school or photo games and whatever?
That's next week.
Oh, that's next week. Okay.
Yeah, first and third Wednesdays.
First and third Wednesdays. And that's when you go and beat up on the old guys? Is that what it is?
Yeah, some of them are doing pretty good, although I had a shot of a breaching whale, which took first place against 14 other clubs in Northern California in my level of thing.
Advanced. And how old is that photo?
It's not that old, a couple of years.
Because you really are just putting in old stuff, aren't you?
A lot of it. I haven't gone out shooting. I just don't have time. The only thing I shoot lately is about 3-4 times a year.
Don't these people usually submit pictures they just recently took?
Nah, I got people that are what's that stuff that they used to take pictures of Lincoln? What do they call those?
Tin types.
What type?
Tin types.
Okay, tin type. Well, there are people still putting out tin types
because they used to print them, I believe, on tin.
Yeah, on metal. Yeah. So some of these old guys are putting out stuff older than my Model T.
Well, you mean none of them are doing digital?
Oh no. They're all doing digital now.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Is your camera a film camera or a digital camera? No.
It's digital. It's a Nikon Z9.
Now, I see. If you were a real purist, you'd shoot on film.
I do have a film camera. I have a Canon AE1, but I haven't shot anything on it in years.
How much is film more expensive now because nobody uses it?
It probably, yes, I'm sure it is. And then I used to have a dark room in Sausalito off of my garage, I had a dark room set up for black and white photography. And then if I shot anything in color, I took it to a lab. There was one called Faulkner Color Labs. They were the high-end lab in San Francisco. And, you know, you'd have to go to the lab. You'd talk to the guy about, you know, how you wanted it printed. And you know, I like film. And I like black and white.
Well, black and white is the best. I used to be able to do more with black and white than I ever could with color in a what do you call it, in a dark room.
Yeah, well, dark room was a place where the phone wasn't ringing, and it was a very calming place to be. Also, as you develop the picture, I like to see the picture come up in the developer, and then you put it in the fixer, and but also I used to do stuff like
we have to mention to people because some people don't know what you're talking about. I mean, come on, this hasn't been done in years. There were 3 baths you used as you developed. Well, first you would develop your negative, okay,
right,
and then you would have the roll
in a canister.
In a canister, and then you would go over to your enlarger and you would put these negatives in the enlarger. And then you would expose the paper underneath. And then when you had the paper exposed, you then put it in the developer, and you would see.
Right, but there's some skill in the enlarger because you would dodge and burn.
Oh, yeah. But let's not get into that. I'm just trying to explain to people the process here of how ancient people like you used to do photography. And then you would put it in the developer. Then you put in a thing called the stop bath. In other words, when you got it to where you liked it, okay, you could
basically
overdo
water.
It. Yeah,
it was water at a certain temperature.
Well, yeah, but the stop bath had some chemicals in it, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
I know the fixer did.
The fixer did, and then you put it in the fixer, and the fixer stopped it altogether, just fixed it, and then you put it up on using paper clips up on a string and let them dry
out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then after you've done everything you had to do, you turn on all the lights and you can look at the pictures and see how they look. Well, black and white had more flexibility of what you could actually do with it. I mean, you were talking about dodging and so on and so forth. You could highlight spots and do things like that.
Sure. I used to take cotton balls and I would take different temperature water, and I would rub it on the picture as it was developing to bring out certain areas. It's the kind of stuff you do digitally now, but it was a fun process.
Well, dodging, I used to use my hands.
Yeah.
To get and what you could do with a black and white picture is you could do more with it. Now, you can do that, and you can do a lot of that stuff now with digital, black and white or color. Because you go into Photoshop and you can do all kinds of things and change the hue and the color temperature and all that stuff.
And do you remember when you could do things to push what they called ASA back then, which is American Standards?
Whatever.
Yeah. You know, you had 100 ASA, you had 200, 500.
Yeah, well, you could tell somebody in a dark room, could you push this? Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Because you could shoot, let's say you had 100 ASA film, you could shoot it at 200 ASA, speed it up, and...
this is getting too complicated. I was just trying to explain how film was developed in the old days.
And it's coming back. There are artists that love film.
Our lifetime.
Oh yeah.
No. A lot of these things come back because there was a reason why they existed. There are people now who directors who still make their movies on film. Mm-hmm. They don't shoot it digitally. Christopher Nolan is a perfect example of that. He always shoots on film.
Yeah.
And Quentin Tarantino, I don't know what he did with it happened in Hollywood. But with The Hateful Eight, that was shot completely on 70 millimeter film.
Yeah, you helped me with a paper once on Tri-Pack, Kodak Tri-Pack. Mm-hmm. I learned more about that from you.
Tri-Pack.
Yeah, what was it when you have the one film that had the 3 colors in it? It was already melded together because prior to that, they used to have three different reels of
well,
film.
no, you're talking about no. They had three different reels of film, and that was Technicolor.
Right.
Okay. There were other versions that only demanded one film, and
Right.
that was things like Eastman color and so on.
Yeah, what did they call it? I thought they called that tri-pack.
No. Nothing looked as good as Technicolor. Nothing.
Yeah.
To this day, you can take, because here's what happened, folks.
You told me about a movie called Becky Sharp.
Well, that was the first Technicolor film.
Right.
But let me explain to people something, that when you saw Technicolor, you didn't really see a color film. You saw they would do three different reels of film, and they all shot black and white, but one shot with one spectrum, which was cyan, another one was magenta, and the other one was
green?
Green, yeah. And then what happened, they would all be shot with these filters that made them into these various levels of the color. Then the three of them were put together and developed, and that was Technicolor. And to this day, if you can find all three reels in good shape, you can make a perfect Technicolor film. And Technicolor never, if you looked at anything,
it never
like
changed color.
something like Eastman color, these other colors that came out would turn blue after a while, or they'd turn green. I mean, in fact,
That's what that Kodak stuff used to do when they shot Jaws, and the blood became purple.
Became purple and so on. Yeah. Today they can go in and they can redo that by, redoing the mix on the film and everything. But it was pretty terrible what was happening to a lot of those films. George Lucas, when he shot, what do you call it? It was Star Wars. It was done, I think, in deluxe, if I'm not mistaken. And he wanted to protect that film always. So what he did is he took the film and cut it up into three different negatives. In other words, he separated the colors and kept them that way so that it would always be rich and good. Yeah, he could always do a good master on it.
Now, I just found out that IMAX, that the theaters are, that there are very few theaters that actually have the 70 millimeter IMAX. What you're seeing is some sort of
Digital.
recreation of IMAX.
No, it's digital.
Digital, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the 70 millimeter film. And I didn't know that. I thought an IMAX theater was an IMAX theater, but
yeah, no, it was no, they're digital, but no, but here's what's happened with Christopher Nolan. He won't let any IMAX theater show it and anything else but showing the actual film.
yeah.
And that film is 11 miles long, and I can't remember how much it weighs. It weighs like 300 pounds. Okay,
Wow.
and it fits on a platter, and they show it in every theater that way. So that's the true IMAX. But most of the IMAX films lately were just digital, and they weren't really IMAX either. They were shot in something else, and they were just blown up to that.
I was told that there are only 2 IMAX theaters in the Bay Area, and the rest of them are all digital.
Well, the one here down in Columbus Circle, not Columbus Circle, but in Lincoln, across from Lincoln Center, is full, beautiful IMAX. Okay, but I won't go see a movie that's just being projected in IMAX. I'll just go see the regular film in the theater. I don't need to go see that big, huge, humongous screen. You know, where the only good seat in the house is in the back row. You know, I don't like IMAX that much. I'm not that crazy
those theaters
about it.
don't have that deep a seating usually.
What do you mean they don't have that deep a seating?
Well, the ones that I've been to,
well, the one that I went to has a huge seating capacity, and it goes up. Quite a rake. But if one time the only ticket I could get was like in the front row. Forget it. You do not want to watch an IMAX film from the front row. Like, oh, excuse me. It was not only the front row, but it was on the side.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, it was just I went. This is ridiculous. I can't do this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've never been that crazy about IMAX. I just there've always been a lot of large formats out there, and even back in the you don't know about this, back in the early days of film, before, like in the 30s, there was a process called magnoscope, which was a 70 millimeter projection. There was a great Western with John Wayne that was done in magnoscope. Cimarron, I think, was done in magnoscope.
I understand that the IMAX camera is extremely large.
Oh yeah, they're gigantic. They made smaller versions of it now, though.
Yeah.
So that you have a little more flexibility. Like the Christopher Nolan, this whole film was done in IMAX.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jeff wanted to ask a question.
Jeff?
Yeah, when I was a teenager, I think I was, maybe 20 years old or so, I worked for a place in Manhattan. And what they were doing is people were running around the city taking videos of people who were being interviewed with the sound and everything so that it would be ready at the 6 o'clock news. And it would probably start, they would bring it in at 3 o'clock in the morning. And they would process all of that film.
Well, in the old days, all the news was film. It's no
right.
longer is,
That's the
but
way
it
it
was
was
film.
done.
And it was,
And
iPhones.
It was
Done
16.
completely in black. You couldn't see nothing.
I know they had developing rooms, and they had 16 millimeter film, and they could do it pretty fast.
I
If
guess
they had
you
to.
can't use a developing bag or anything to develop the film, even
It's
16
just,
millimeter.
No, because you're doing a strip of film. You
Oh.
But they had them at the TV stations. They had these labs that just did it really fast. They just ran it through the thing and it developed it.
As far as the small stuff at home yourself, I did, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 of them, and I said,
What do you mean, 8 millimeter?
regular,
35 millimeter.
Super 8?
yeah.
Super 8?
And I said, the heck with that. This is too complicated.
Yeah,
it
Well,
was-
video changed everything. Okay, there isn't a TV station in the country that doesn't do video.
Yeah.
It isn't. It's all digital now.
Yeah, and a lot of them are just using their iPhones.
Actually, to be honest with you, I went out and I got this camera, which is a.
was that Sony?
It's a Sony. Yeah, it's a Sony.
Yeah.
And it's it's got interchangeable lenses on it and all of that. And I take it out, and it doesn't have the steady ability, nor the visual quality.
Oh, you can get a thing that you hang on to that.
I
has
know.
like,
I have it. I have it here. I haven't put it on. It's. I'd like things to be simple. I'm probably.
It is simple.
I'm probably going to get another camera soon, but I'm going to get more. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You should get a red.
Huh? Yeah,
get a
right,
red.
Right. Well, I should be able to afford one of those soon if I want to, but I'm not going to. But what happens is I find that the iPhone, I go in and got like a what do you call it?
A gimbal.
Not a gimbal. It's just it's called what's
Steady cam?
No. It's just it's a selfie stick. Basically.
Oh yeah.
No, you don't need a Steadicam. You got a Steadicam built into the Apple iPhone that is as good as any Steadicam in the business.
Yeah.
And it is steadier than this. And I shoot a lot of stuff. I shoot all the little shows that Marjorie and I do now using the selfie stick, and it's terrific. It's just the best.
Very nice.
And I say to myself, why did I buy this thing? It
Well-
just isn't as good as an iPhone.
Well, if you're not going to be in the picture and use a selfie stick, and you want to do something where you can really capture movement and dynamic range, there's nothing like that Sony camera. you can make cinematic.
I'm telling you now.
Video.
What do you mean? I do cinematic on the iPhone. There's a setting for it. There's a setting for it, Phil. I'm telling you, as somebody who's shot video all my life, I'm amazed by how good the iPhone is.
Yeah.
You know. But how many here have shot any video on their iPhones? Right? It's pretty damn good, isn't it? Huh?
Very, very good. Much better than Phil's video.
Yeah.
I don't shoot video.
I mean, if
There you go.
The only thing it doesn't have is a really good zoom ability.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, and you can zoom with it, but it's just
It's electronic zoom. It's not a physical zoom.
yeah. So but if I go on a vacation, I'm thinking of just getting myself a regular camera, a video camera, because I know how to shoot with those, and you have a zoom on them, and they're good. But anyway, it's.
Do they use those 3-chip cameras anymore?
God, I haven't seen them. You don't need them. Everything's digital now, Phil.
Yeah.
And the kind of video you were shooting before, you needed the lenses now are the lens, for instance, on an iPhone is as good as any lens I could buy on a video camera. Okay? Period. You don't need the 3 lenses. So it's amazing what we've done, And all you people can now make movies and do video and put it on YouTube. By the way, as an experiment on YouTube, they do a lot of times they demonetize me because no, but they demonetize me occasionally. Who knows why? Sometimes we haven't had a single 4-letter word on the entire program. Okay, and but they still demonetize me, and then I have to say, well, you shouldn't have demonetized me. That's wrong. And they went back and check, and they go, oh yeah, you're right. Okay. But I have to go through
the algorithm.
I have to go through the trouble of showing them our algorithm is full of crap. Okay, now don't say any 4-letter words tonight, because this is a test. Today was mentioning to Marjorie. We were driving down to the Apple store because her iPad went dead, and I was telling her on the way down to this Apple store. I said, we were talking about limericks, and I said, well, I have the most disgusting limerick you've ever heard in your life. And I said it to her. And then I thought about it, and I said, you know something? I could probably do that limerick on my show, and in spite of the fact that it's the filthiest limerick I know, they probably won't catch it. So I want to test that theory tonight, okay? Because they don't listen to the program and say, oh, he's about ready to do this, so let's go get him on that. I want to see if they actually catch it. So I'm going to tell you the limerick, and it is probably the most disgusting limerick I've ever heard in my life. There once was a woman from the Azores,
Okay.
whose snatch was all covered with sores. As she walked down the street, the dogs ate the green meat that hung in festoons from her drawers.
Phil didn't get it
Why wouldn't I have gotten it?
because it's too.
Is that not the most disgusting limerick you've ever heard?
It's gross.
No,
Huh?
I didn't think so.
But it
Explain
doesn't have a
exactly,
single
didn't
dirty word in it.
Right.
The only word that might be questionable is snatch, but I can say I snatched something and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
Let's
blah,
see
blah, blah.
now if after saying that limerick, if I get demonetized.
So, what many of these politicians like Robert Kennedy are talking about is being censored. And they're saying, he said that, he was censored by Trump, he was censored by Biden, so...
You know why he was censored? Because everything he says is stupid.
Well, but isn't that what his opposition is putting out as a defense to try to put him down?
I think that the social media outfits have gotten so much heat for the stuff that goes out over social media that they're now in the process of censoring to save their own asses.
Well, Trump
Rather
wanted
than
to
say,
put in-
hey, you don't have, we're not going to censor any of this because this is like an open forum. And sometimes people are going to say stuff that are absolute lies, but, you know, so be it. I mean, how do you feel, Charlie? How do you feel about it? I mean, how do you feel about these things like YouTube, like Twitter, like Facebook, censoring people for things that they say, especially that are political?
Yeah.
How do you feel
I mean, I
about
don't
it?
like censorship of any form.
Right,
so.
but and you don't want to see censored things that you disagree with necessarily, or that you even feel are irresponsible. You know.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to censor Kennedy. I just won't believe what he says.
Exactly.
Even
Hmm?
even in you know, hundreds of years ago, in the Speaker's Square in England, they had a place where if you wanted to say something, you could stand
It's
up.
called
and you could
Hyde
say
Park.
it.
Hyde Park. Yeah, Hyde Park.
Yeah. If as long as the pigeons.
Well,
didn't-
we once described public access in New York as a electronic Hyde Park.
Right.
And I think that's the way we should describe what goes on with all the things like YouTube and Facebook and so on and so forth and Twitter.
No, it's now X. It's no more Twitter.
No more
No,
Twitter.
no, it's still Twitter.
Yeah.
The logo for it is X. It's not the bird.
Oh,
Okay. It's still Twitter,
yeah.
you know, because people would get too confused, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting that Musk has a love affair with X. I guess his PayPal program was originally going to be called X, and X is a thing that he has an affinity.
SpaceX. Yeah.
SpaceX.
Well,
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that, you know. But anyway, the point is, it's not what we're talking about here. It's just a question of, should they be in the business of censoring people? I mean, when they tell you, go on, do a show, talk to these people, you know, have fun. Oh, but by the way, don't say this, don't say that, don't say this, don't say that. And, you know, and then you don't even really give me a chance to protest it.
What the Republicans are complaining about is they say that the FBI and the DOJ went to Twitter, they went to Facebook.
No, they didn't.
They told them to not allow certain stories to hit the air.
It really basically was a process of intimidation to these people, going, well, you know, we're not happy with this kind of thing going across and these kind of lies going across. And especially during COVID, they were especially sensitive to fake narratives.
Be careful.
Yeah. Well, they hit me on it, and it was because
know.
we were trying to talk about those lies, you know, but there's no way I can protest it, so I'll just, live with it. But, I mean, they just got so overly sensitive to everything. And then, of course, with the whole thing with the Russians and them going on all these websites and all these social media platforms.
With the bots.
With the bots and the things like that, and putting across misinformation. Let me finish, Phil. Putting across the misinformation that they just felt put upon, that people were starting to complain about this going on. And rather than, I think they had every right to, for instance, post notices. This particular tweet it has not been vetted and perhaps could not be true. They could, they have the right to do that. That's their company. But they got really paranoid about everything, and they didn't want the government shutting them down or telling them what to do with their companies and so on. So they figured they'd be proactive and overly sensitive to stuff that was being put on their platforms.
Well, according to some of these whistleblowers that were at Twitter, they said that Twitter and Facebook were being threatened. That
they were being threatened. They were
that
not.
their 230 status, that they're not responsible for the information that goes out.
I never heard of a 230.
Was going.
I never heard.
Section 230, I believe it's called.
Well, I never heard of it. All I ever heard of is the status that the status that some companies got, and it was the thing that probably should apply here. Was what was called, I'm trying to remember what it was called, but it common carrier status. In other words, for instance, a phone company could not be responsible for somebody who made a call that to somebody else and they talked about something illegal, okay, because they're a common carrier and they had common carrier status. And the same thing was true with a lot of like cable companies initially, had cable carrier, for instance, what do you call it? We had here in New York, we had public access, and under that they had common carrier status. If people said something that was irresponsible or illegal or whatever, the cable company would not be responsible for them saying it on their platform. Okay. And I never heard of this 230.
Okay, Section 230, according to Wikipedia, says no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as a publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider.
What does that mean?
So that means Facebook, for instance, isn't responsible for for what other content providers say. Well, they were talking about pulling that Section 230 status from the social media companies if they didn't fall in line with the edicts of the DOJ and the FBI. And so this is what we're finding out from
how can you pull something that's already a law?
Well, this is what they said in. Well,
I think that would have to. Hearings. I think that would have to be done.
I heard it in the congressional hearings today.
Today, did they have a congressional hearing on this?
It was yesterday. Yes. Anyway.
Well, I don't necessarily believe what you're saying.
Well,
I'm telling you why.
What Section
I'm telling you why, because
is.
you're the guy I know that can hear something and then repeat it back to me, and you got it all wrong.
It's like playing telephone. What people are supposed to do is when you say something, you're supposed to repeat it back to that person so that they know that you got the story straight. Scalp.
Hello, Kevin. How are you? I saw your video today that was up. It showed up on my YouTube. I don't know which one it was, but marching band.
I was going to say which one it was. I haven't put up one for a while.
Yeah, they just every now and then Kevin Stopper will just come up. It could be 2 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but don't worry. If they play any music that's dirty, you'll get demonetized. So, yeah.
No, it's usually copyright.
That's
usually what I get is copyright stuff.
Yeah, and what happens? They let it run anyway, but you just can't make money off of it, right?
Yeah.
Are you monetized, Kevin?
No.
Oh, so it doesn't really matter.
What I don't understand, there's this girl on this Ukrainian girl, young child, started as a child. She's about 14, 15 now. And she plays the violin out on the street. And she gets like 11 million views. Okay? Start adding that up, by the way. She makes about $2 million a year. Okay? But my question is, she plays songs that are in copyright. So how does she get around that? Maybe she pays the royalties.
Maybe she pays for it. If she makes so much money, she probably pays for it.
Probably pays for the royalties and then has to tell, YouTube
that she's paid for.
That I'm here. Look, I paid for the royalty.
Because all those songs that we do in the band, and all those performances that we do, the band director pays for them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he pays the copyright.
Oh, so
he when we set up a show for that year, us as boosters, we pay for the
but that doesn't cover the copyright for playing it on YouTube.
Right, correct.
That's a separate. You'd have to go out and get a separate.
I would have to go out and get a separate one, yeah.
For the video.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So It used to be nobody ever cared, you know. I used to use any music I wanted.
That
in
was
my
before the
videos.
Flo and Eddie deal.
No, the Flo and Eddie deal was a completely different.
Well, no,
deal.
then music before a certain date was able to be used.
Flo and Eddie. The fact is that if something is in copyright, something is in copyright. What Sirius XM was saying was that before a certain date, the music wasn't in copyright. They could use it, and the fact was they couldn't. Okay, so
that was that old 25-year rule.
Yeah, the whole 25-year rule. Yeah, but no, for the most part, that's not. That they didn't set any major precedent.
Didn't the Beatles or somebody whack that thing or something?
Well, it used to be copyright was 13 years plus 13 years. In other words, you
so
could
26th year.
You got it for 13 years, and then it could be renewed for another 13, and then it went into what was called public domain. And the real expert on public domain was my friend Shecky, because he knew movies that were in public domain and movies that weren't in public domain. In fact, a good example, I'll give you a good example of public domain. The first 19 episodes of Star Trek are public domain. I know you find that hard to believe, but somehow Paramount didn't think to go out and copyright them.
There's also 39 episodes of Sea Hunt.
Well, let's take one thing at a time, Phil.
I love Sea Hunt.
Yes, you're so smart, Phil. Okay. Anyway, the point is I'm giving an example. Yeah. But what turned out was finally Paramount said, yes, the show wasn't copywritten, but the music was. So if you want to run Star Trek, you have to run it without the music, and nobody wanted to do that. But I knew a guy for a while who was selling copies of Star Trek, the first 19 episodes. Paramount wrote him a letter, said cease and desist, and he said, I won't. Show me that this is in copyright. And that was the last he heard from them. Okay? So, I mean, there was a lot of things. What?
Wasn't there a rule as well that you could still play segments, like only a 5 or 8 second segment of anything? But it
you can still do it. There's a thing called fair use.
Fair use.
Now, some people said, "Oh, well, it's fair use. I'm running it because I think I should run it." No, fair use is when you use it to give an example of something.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I want to say, in the old days in movies they used to do such and such, and then I would show you a clip that exemplified that. That would be considered fair usage. But if I showed the whole movie to prove that point, no, that wasn't fair usage.
And was there a specified amount of time? Because I know I've heard people say, on whatever, a radio show or whatever, say, I can play this much, and then they got to cut it off. And they'll cut it off right at the right time. Or, they'll play 5 or 6 seconds, and they said, no, I can't go any further than that.
I remember something like that, but I don't remember what the deal was.
Well, I want to say it was 5 or 10 seconds, somewhere in between there, 5 to 8 seconds.
Well, it comes under the fair usage, but I don't know that it's any amount of time. I think if you used over a minute or something, you'd be violating it.
Yeah. But I thought there was a specific 5 to 8
I mean,
seconds.
too bad Shecky isn't still alive. I'd call him tonight and ask him, how that works. But because he was the expert in it. I mean, all the footage he ran on Letterman was public domain footage. Had no copyright.
Yeah.
It was so old, and the people never renewed the copyright, and so.
And then he collected that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Stored it away and used it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that was the footage that he used on the Letterman show.
Because he knew he wouldn't get no crap for it.
Right. Exactly. Well, actually, it was footage he got from a company. Okay, that they paid the company for the use of the footage, because it's not that they own the footage, but they supplied the footage. And fortunately, the company was also a company that Shecky owned.
Yeah, and either way, it wasn't protected.
So he made a lot of money off the Letterman show for his company by simply going and getting, A film.
I like that cat and monkey video.
Yeah, well, that's one of his famous ones. Yeah, that's the most famous. That's the one they.
You're the monkey, right, Phil?
No, stop eating those bananas.
It's a cat washing a monkey.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah.
He did it on Letterman.
Yeah.
You know, you said.
Oh no, wait a minute,
Phil
it's a
was
monkey
smart.
washing a cat. Excuse me, it's the other way around.
It seems like it.
Phil did it on Letterman.
Yeah.
He
But-
said Phil was smart. You gotta add the except for news, politics, economics, and cars.
yeah. He pays way too much for cars, right?
Actually,
Yeah.
no,
He
I
doesn't-
didn't pay that much for it.
No, he didn't pay that much.
You
for
said
it
you
to start
paid
with.
10 grand for that junker.
Yeah, but it's listed for about 27 in its current condition. Hey, you know I've been watching this Jay Leno's garage videos.
Canceled.
I love those things.
Canceled.
Well, it's on YouTube,
Yeah,
but
canceled. That's one thing he does that I think was kind of good because he was really
was
good
excellent.
at it. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Tony.
If you, Alex, Phil
As Tony attempts to get a word in edgewise, Phil.
Yes. Has Phil told me that he paid 10 grand, but he's gonna burn the car or have somebody burn it up and collect on the insurance. I'm joking, Phil.
Well, that's what Trump was planning on doing for America in order to break even. He was going to burn the country down and get the insurance money.
Too much
Yes.
metal to burn that thing.
Yeah,
yeah, palladium steel.
yeah. I wonder where Brian is tonight. He's not in his normal
He's
environment.
got to be at work.
He's stuck in Lodi.
It's in Lodi.
Yeah,
You're fired. You're fired.
yeah, yeah,
He showed us that he's on his cell phone.
yeah.
I'm
But
doing it.
anyway, so Kevin, did you shoot any video lately of your kids with their orchestras and their bands?
No, I'm pretty much out of it. We're kind of doing transition right now.
Now you shot
My
those
wife-
all with an iPhone, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
iPad.
iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah. iPhone looks great. Look,
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to get recruited or voluntold to do it again next year, but I don't mind it.
But your kids aren't even in that school anymore, right?
No, she's off to
But you're stuck
University
with
of
it.
Oregon.
Well, now let's see, Brian. I'd say he's in Lodi tonight.
Hello.
Hello, are you in Lodi?
Yes.
Yeah. What, are you stuck at work overnight?
So sanitary.
Yeah, we're doing some big improvements. So so it's a long night because we're training night shift. So yeah.
What do you mean you're making?
Overnight Kaizens?
Yeah, we're doing some Kaizen work.
Are they doing them overnight?
Yeah, because we made the changes and then we have 3 shifts. So I like being here for the night shift to do training, so they understand it's coming from me and they understand the importance of it and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's the good leader in me.
Oh, good.
Kaizens put you to sleep, and then overnight made it even worse.
What's the term you use there?
Kaizen means continuous improvement. Kai means improvement, and then
And
Six
Zon
Sigma,
means
Six
continuous.
Sigma.
I don't. Icon or is Izon?
Kaizen. It's almost like Kaiser, but Kaizen.
Is that
Yeah.
come out of that ISO standards? Like ISO 9000?
No.
Oh, Phil's trying to show us how smart he is again.
Oh, well,
It's
I never knew what Kaizen was.
He
but I know
always
what
will. He
ISO
will
standards
always
are.
take the
Their
discussion
efficiency probe.
and run it down into a gaping ditch to show that he knows something.
It costs hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the ISO reports that are the most current. So what I used to do is I would read the ones that were maybe 7,
Do
8
you think there's
years old
anybody listening to us that cares, including Brian?
that I could get for free. And,
Nobody cares.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
And they're old.
well, yeah, but they were still the standards that were good enough to run corporations.
Keep going, Phil. We're down to 32 people.
It's an improvement for you.
How about if you just block his voice, Alex?
That's okay.
What was the one?
Nope.
We had
Nobody's
technical
listening,
difficulties
Phil.
about a week ago,
Yeah.
And the numbers went up into the hundreds. I mean,
100. Yeah, it was like 112 or something.
people love to see me fail. You know.
Why don't you just do a show like on Tuesday nights, just by yourself, pretending that there's all these issues?
Yeah, all these issues,
He
right?
doesn't have to pretend.
First one will be, I can't hear Phil. What do we do?
Oh, that's not an issue.
Well, I could mute Phil if I wanted to. You know.
Yeah.
I'm available Tuesdays. It's Wednesdays that are.
You're available.
See,
I'm just glad you're not available on Mondays. Okay.
I wish you would call the Monday show one time when I'm cooking.
Huh?
I wish I cook and listen to the show sometimes.
Don't ever call the Monday show because
No, he asked me not to.
Marjorie has warned me, Tony, that if you call the Monday show, she will hang up.
You were in hot water the other day, Alex, with the movie talk. You
What?
don't like any of the movies. The Captain America was a great movie. I was like, but she did like it. I was like, that was a great movie.
Captain America?
The first one, remember?
No, we were talking about Captain of Tomorrow, the World of Tomorrow, Captain whatever in the World of Tomorrow. I can't remember. Wasn't Captain America?
I thought it was the Winter Soldier. Oh, all right, I got it wrong then. I like that movie. I was like, I'm surprised you didn't like that.
I didn't say I didn't like it, and she saw it and liked it, but she probably doesn't remember seeing it.
Yeah, I remember you were arguing. I was like, oh, they're fighting. He's getting in hot water. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
Anyways.
Let me see here. Is there anything happening in the news that we should be talking about?
Hunter's deal is
he pleaded guilty to not paying taxes.
No,
Paul
he's not.
not Paul. Alan can elaborate on this one. He sent me a post about Hunter and the his deal getting revoked.
Well, because the judge wouldn't accept the decision
Plea bargain.
The plea bargain, and it's probably not her place to do that exactly. But she decided to, and she's a Trump appointee, by the way. Let's add that.
They asked if this was a normal thing, and both the defense and the prosecutor said, no, this is not normal and it's never been done before. And so they revoked it.
What do you mean? Plea deals are made all the time.
No, but for this particular kind of thing.
What do you mean? It's a tax. He didn't pay taxes.
Yeah, well, neither did Fiona Helmsley, and look what they did to her.
Well,
and,
I mean,
Martha Stewart.
Hey,
what did they do to her?
Plea dealing is when the government wants to make a deal with you, so they don't have to go through the whole process of holding a court hearing and the expense of that for the taxpayer. And so, if they made this settlement with him, which to begin with, he paid back all the money, the taxes. And he pled he was going to plead guilty to the charge, and I don't see there's anything. I don't think the public is being served by sending Hunter Biden to jail, especially because in many ways I think he's a poor soul who has lived a life of a lot of misery, with his mother dying and his sister dying.
Is so dysfunctional,
and
their dog bites all the.
Yeah, the dog bit again now. Third bite now. He's got like.
Let's talk about.
Yeah, that really makes the case of what we're talking about.
Commander.
Mitch McConnell.
The whole family's dysfunctional. This is the second dog that bites. It's usually the owner of the dog that is the reason the dog reacts that way.
Please help me, God. Please make it so that Phil will shut up for the rest of the show.
Did everybody hear about Mitch McConnell fell the other day, and today, mid-sentence, he stumbled?
He didn't just stumble. He just phased out completely, and then was just standing there kind of like this.
Yeah, he looked lost.
He was pretending he was Biden.
Oh, Jesus, Phil, will you stop it with Biden already?
To
begin with, you're making fun of Biden because of certain things that happen when you get older, and I think you're being an ageist when you do it.
Yeah, you never tell Alan to stop it when it comes to Trump. How come, when it comes to Biden, you beat me up? You know?
No, I'm talking about what you're
It's
beating.
their use.
If you beat him up about his politics and you don't agree what he did here or what he did there, fine. But when you're going after him because the guy, to begin with, has a speech impediment, and because he's getting older and he's not as spry as he once was, he's certainly spry enough to make sure that the what do you call it, the increase in costs in this country have gone down, and that they're
because he printed so much money.
Phil,
the increase,
Phil, just shut up for 1 minute, okay? Just shut up.
You used to make about 400 G's a year, and in those years, 400 G's was worth what, $1 million?
That's a lot. 400 G's was worth 400 G's back then.
Yeah, it was worth 400 G's back then.
You're right. But now, today, your 400 G's would be worth 82 cents because of inflation. And, so...
Here we are again with economics.
Here we go. Phil, just please, let other people join in on the conversation.
Well, they can.
When you let them, But anyway, all I'm saying is that... I kind of feel a little sorry for Hunter Biden, only because the family had a lot of tragedy, and I mentioned his wife and children dying in a car crash, and then of course Phil talks about the dog biting.
Biden.
One thing does not lead into the other.
If you were to ask me, what's one thing that Biden has done? He brought down the price of fentanyl in this country. So
I knew he was going to say they were ODing on that too.
Stop watching.
How many people have died from fentanyl poisoning because of his porous borders? Letting the cartels bring this stuff across.
Everybody smoke if
and
you
what
got
did Trump do? And what did Trump do? He built
Trump did a great job on the border.
He did a great job on the border. All those people were pouring over.
Bill.
He built the fence.
It fell, Phil.
And Alan's going to pay for it.
Phil, do you realize how annoying you are right now?
Yeah. Hey, Tony wanted to talk about global warming.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, by the way, let me bring this up, okay? Let's see. I'm sure Phil will have a comment on this, too. Today, Kevin Spacey was found not guilty of all charges in England, and that's the last of the things that he's been charged with.
In England?
No, here in the United States, he had one thing with this actor Rap. That was thrown out. And then there was one in Connecticut that was thrown out. There are no more charges against Kevin Spacey now.
So is his career coming back?
Well, I'm going to ask. Are they going to start hiring him because he's not guilty of anything?
What do you think
is going to happen, Charlie? Got any?
I saw him at Ice Cream Comic. He was good.
Charlie?
What did you ask?
I was going to ask you what you thought. Do you think Kevin Spacey is suddenly going to be able to work?
He should be able to, but probably not.
He should be able to. Absolutely. There are no charges against him. He has been found not guilty in every single case.
He was found guilty by the media.
Well, thank you, Phil. Yes, Alan. Yes, Alan.
No, I was just gonna say that Phil interrupted everybody tonight.
Fuck you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, there goes your.
There goes your.
There goes the nice money.
Yeah.
If Alex can't push the button, I'm gonna try.
Can you bleep it?
Yeah.
That was good, Phil.
You called late, Brian, and I don't blame you. I mean,
well, if I would have known Phil was on.
Tomorrow, he just wanted to make sure I was here.
No, usually I listened to the show before, but I went upstairs to this office and I found out Phil was on when I turned on.
Is that your office at work?
No. This is another office. It's like a Funny Farm office, all white.
It's like a little temporary office or whatever.
your corporate doesn't spend a lot on artwork, does it?
How many offices do you have in that building?
Me personally?
No, how many the company? I mean,
in this one there's like 10 or 12 offices.
Oh, really? It's not that big a building then.
This is a focus room.
Oh, what do you mean come in?
Focus room, so I can focus.
Oh, so you can focus? Oh, okay. Good.
We were talking about photography earlier.
So nobody else wanted to chime in with that either.
Boy, I'm going to be exhausted after this show.
I'm more raring to go to watch a movie.
Well, you need the exercise.
Yeah, I'm calling tomorrow. I thought Phil was on tomorrow night. He muscled in tonight.
So Tony, what have you been telling me about global warming?
I got in trouble with my brother's girlfriend and him with global warming. You know, Alex, I was going to tell you this. I know it's at the end. You can think about it, guys. I was watching the local news, and they had top 10 hottest Julys for New York because it's so hot, right? So I was like in the 40s, beat this month. So I turned to my brother and his girlfriend. I said, how are we still alive? It was hotter in 1940 than it's here. What about global warming? She goes, your brother's being a wise ass. Alex, how is that possible? It was hotter in 1940, and they weren't screaming global warming. How did we not disintegrate and still be here?
I don't think it was hotter. In this month in New York has been hotter than any month in the history of taking.
So you're saying,
and the same thing is, but worldwide, we had the hottest. This has been the hottest year in the history of the world. Okay,
and they say one of the problems is not just the heat during the day, but the heat at night. So because it's not cooling down, that's another stat that they're taking. And they're saying it's getting so warm that the pilots are having a hard time. They're going to start reducing people sitting on the airplanes because the air is so warm.
The water in Miami is 110 degrees.
And Europe is burning now instead of California.
Yeah. And we know that, Phil. The thing is that we don't pay much attention to is that this is a sign that something is wrong, okay? Because it's not cyclical if this is the worst it's ever been, you know.
Well, Tony says it's not the worst.
Well, Tony's wrong.
I got to look it up.
Tony's
again.
never wrong.
Well, I'm not right all the time, but
you know, Tony doesn't want to be wrong, but he is. So, anyway, I'm playing the theme right now. So
I'll play it tomorrow.
Know that, and I'm exhausted, folks.
Tony listed a trunk comic today for $350.
Yeah, Alex, I got to show you.
Phil, can I bring this show to a close, please, or do you mind? Do you mind?
It closed an hour ago.
No, the minute you came on, it went away. In fact,
are you on drugs, Phil?
We're now down to 29 people, Phil. Thank you very much. Jeff, thank you. I appreciate you for being here tonight. Charlie, always great to have you here. Again, tell them what it says on your shirt.
Be greater than average.
Okay. And
this is average.
Of course, Phil, thank you. And Alan, thank you very much for having joined us tonight. Tony, good having you here. Yeah, and Brian, thank you for being here. And Kevin, of course, always good having you here as well. Everybody, just do a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you, okay? And then fade to my camera. There we go. There they are, ladies and gentlemen. That's our citizen panel for tonight. A new one will be forming right after this on the Jack Bishop intersection. He'll be taking your calls on Skype at GabNet Live. GabNetLive. I'll see you again tomorrow night. Same time, same station in life. And in the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.